Hello everyone, Fanta here. You are watching FANTAVISION, and today is another episode of Tales from Retail. We are talking about GameStop once again because I haven't had a chance to record with Steven in a while, and I'd like to, and I do need to get Adam on the show so he can discuss his stories from working at a movie theater, just to kind of bring some variety in. I know some of you may be getting sick of the Tales from Retail series. You can kind of tell from the different views on the different videos, and I don't know. So we're going to be mixing it up here on the channel a bit. I'm going to be doing the old throwing shit at a wall until something sticks. You guys can let me know in the comments and by the likes and whatnot what you guys like, what you guys don't like, and let me know in the comments if there's some sort of content that you want me to do more of, or something I haven't even thought of yet. Let me know. And also, if you've got more ideas for more Tales from Retail, of course, put that down in the comments as well. All that crap out of the way, let's get this out of the way real quick. This is the Red Hook Bi-Coastal IPA. It's a really weird looking bottle. I don't remember why I bought this. Oh my god. There's just so much shit in here. It's just like the bottom is just full of, it's just unfiltered as hell. My lord, is it supposed to be? So today I'm going to be discussing a topic that actually one of you guys suggested, and that is the stereotype of the GameStop customer. And what does that mean? What do you first think of when you think of somebody who shops at GameStop? And whether or not, is that true? Is that really true? That what you first think of as a shopper of GameStop, is that really what those people are and what most of the shoppers are like? And I would say no, but with like an asterisk, because there definitely is a solid 25% of the customer base of GameStop that fits the description of what you think of a GameStop customer. Somebody who is sweaty, doesn't take a whole lot of showers. They just kind of ooze just grossness. They have an aura of, I don't want to talk to this person. They are kind of awkward. They don't really know how to hold a conversation unless it's about a game. Their opinions are incredibly strong about a game, and if you don't like the game that they like, they get very upset. They will tell other customers that they're wrong. The tell other customers they're wrong thing is about half of that 25%. So about 12.5% of the customer base is yelling at other customers. This is what I've seen. It could have changed by now. I don't know. It's been years. But from what I experienced, there definitely was that type of person that shopped there. The people that lived, breathed, ate, and didn't bathe video games. Now, what does that mean when it comes to that type of shopper, and what were the other types of shoppers that we had? Of course, I've talked about the elderly that we've had and how they come in looking for their electronic poker games and solitaire. People looking for board games and puzzles and things that we did not carry back then, but now GameStop could easily help you with because now they carry board games and puzzles for some reason. I don't think they have electronic solitaire yet. I'm sure they will in the future. That'll be the next iteration of GameStop as they try to sell to the elderly, and they keep expanding their market to the point that they don't even sell video games anymore. We also had just the normal people like you and I, just people that enjoyed video games and were just looking to get in and out as fast as possible. You could tell that they really didn't want to hear all of the upselling, the GPGs, the pre-orders, the cards, the magazine, any of that crap. They didn't want it. They just wanted their game. They wanted to get out. Completely understand. That's great. That was the main majority of people, for sure. Of course, there were the clueless parents that I've talked about as well during the holiday specials. They're pretty much the same in the clueless department no matter what time of the year it is. So I feel like it's fair enough to bring them up in this episode. They're still clueless. They're not as clueless as the grandparents, but they're still pretty clueless. I feel like the next generation of parents, or like the people my age group, are going to know a little bit more about video games than the previous generation, because video games have really, come to prominence. It's I think it's the most profitable piece of media and entertainment out there these days, which is completely understandable because of how much they try to scam their customers and really just suck out as much money from the wallets as they can. I mean, you literally can't do that in the movie industry or the music industry. You get the money and you're kind of done. So I feel like our generation is going to be not the clueless parents, but I feel like when more people in my generation become or have kids that are old enough to understand and play video games, unless you're unfortunate enough to be my age and have a kid that already understands how to play video games, I'm sorry for you. So I think, well, I guess when they're old enough, there's not going to be really a GameStop because we've seen the decline of this store year after year, and it's not going to be coming back anytime soon. There's really no reason for it. Digital's blowing up, but that's not what this video is about. This is about the customers. So the other section is just the kids wandering in by themselves without their parents, which did happen quite a bit. And they definitely, of course, don't fit the stereotype of the sweaty GameStop people. And we'll talk about how they shopped besides the fact that they yelled at customers and were incredibly smelly. So these little kids would wander in, and most of the time, they actually weren't that bad. Sometimes you'd get an awful kid and he'd just wreck the place and you'd be like, stop doing that. What are you doing? Stop. Where's your parents? Where are they? Why are you here by yourself? But occasionally, most of the time kids would just kind of wander around or play the demos. They would keep to themselves, look at the few toys we had back then. Now I'm sure they'd be distracted as hell. I mean, they could just play with a million different Pikachu things. They could look at the board games. Do kids play board games nowadays? I don't even know. But they have things to do in the store, and they're usually putting stuff back. It seems like most kids aren't terrible. The terrible ones, like I said, you gotta wrangle them up. But the very rare occasion we had a kid that was like proper and had his own wallet and his own money, and I'm talking about like a 7-year-old, like a tiny little kid. And this was like a very occasional thing, and he'd be properly dressed, and he was just like a I don't know, it was crazy. He was more well behaved, or these kids rather. It wasn't just one time, surprisingly. These kids were well behaved and more well behaved than most adults that shopped there. It was crazy to me, so crazy. They were super nice. They'd like say please and thank you, and they were like, I don't know, they were just really cool to deal with. But the shitty kids kind of ruined kids as a whole. For when you think of a kid coming in your store, you immediately go, oh God, oh no, where's the parents? Where are the parents? No! But again, most of the time, wasn't that big of a deal, but when it was a big a deal, I mean, the kid would just wreck the store, and there's really nothing you can do about it. You can just kind of watch as they look at one of those microtransaction cards or the gift cards, and as they pull it off, like all the rows underneath it fall off too. And the kid just kind of like, and then he looks over at you and then just kind of walks away. Like, thinking about it now that I don't have to clean it up, hilarious. But back then, when I had to clean all that shit up, that was a pain in the ass. You had to find the planogram again. Like, oh, where do these cards even go? I don't remember. But if we're going back to the stereotype of GameStop and what kind of shoppers were they like, and the fact that we have answered yes, that they do exist, but they're not the majority. These were the people that you really had to convince to pre-order things, unless they were a super fanboy about something, because you could pinpoint to what kind of games they were super fanboys about, and you could lean into that and get them to pre-order a bunch of different stuff. And some of them you could get the gameplay guarantee sold to, but most of them, of course, they're the no-life guys that only play video games, so they treat them like they're babies, and like, I don't need a GPG because I treat mine like just God. It's just amazing. All my discs are perfect. And like, I understand not buying it, but like the fact that they had to give me a speech onto why they don't need it, I don't need the speech, really. You don't need to sell me why you don't need it. Honestly, I don't care that much. I'm not a fan of this beer. Also, when it came to the card itself, when I was trying to sell the card to them, sometimes they just had it and you just renew it whenever they need to. But some of them would come in like a million times, and you'd at least get them the free card. The only reason the GameStop employees even want you to get the free card is because they want to track how much you could have saved with the premium card. Every time you make a purchase at GameStop, if it's used or pretty much used is how you save stuff. And I think it also calculates how many magazines you would have gotten. That's a rumor I heard about the premium card, was that the savings that you're told that you've saved over time includes the price of the magazines in there. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure one of my managers told me that, which is pretty sketchy. I'm not sure if the free one does that. I don't remember, but I know it is a way to track how much you would have saved on used games. And that's always a great sales tactic. Like, okay, well, by this point you would have paid off the card. Are you sure you don't want to get the card? And normally if we hooked them that way, they'd get it. Otherwise, these like super nerds were really stuck in their ways. You can really convince them one way or another. They're like, no. The no, or I have to have the card. They're pretty much dead set in their opinion on no matter what it was. Like I said, you can capitalize on that if there's a certain type of game genre they're really into. But other than that, you're kind of SOL. So even though the majority of people that shop at GameStop really aren't the stereotypical gaming sweaty nerd, they do exist. And like I said in my video 2 years ago, I understand why GameStop has existed for this long. It really only takes 25 to 30% of their customer base to cover all of their expenses, because lots of those hardcore nerds and lots of just regular customers will happily buy lots of used games. They will happily trade in tons of games, both of which we are making a profit on, and they are losing lots of money. When you think about, well, how has GameStop survived for this long? Is it because of those insanely nerdy people that shop there all the time? Yes and no. It's mainly just because of that 30% of the people that shop there. They do everything. They do the GPGs on every used game they buy. They buy lots of used games. They have the premium card to get the savings on the used games. And they come back and they trade in every single game that they buy. And when you've got those type of people that keep coming back, when you've got your regulars, you're set. And it was great to have the rest of the customer base come in. I mean, they're also helping with the bottom line. They're buying new games, which they make about $5 each on. They're buying used games occasionally. But those core audience people, and not just the sweaty nerds, because a lot of those would only buy new as well. That core 30% is why GameStop has existed for so long. If you're ever wondering that, because I did, definitely. I had to think back to when I worked there and was like, GameStop's failing now, but how did it take this long to start failing, really? I mean, nobody in the gaming community that I know really likes the place. People try to avoid it as much as possible. People don't like the upselling. And it's just the company itself does not have a good image at all. They don't treat their employees well. They don't pay them well. They don't treat the customers well. They have way too much upselling. There's just everything wrong about it. It created the pre-order culture, and the problem that we have now with cut content out of games unless you pre-order ahead of time. And it amazed me until I really sat down and thought about it and went, oh, those people are why it survived for so long. So I hope that answered the question about the stereotypes of people that shop at GameStop, and whether or not that stereotype really does exist. They do, but they're definitely not the main core audience of GameStop. That 30% is a mix of a lot of those different types of shoppers that I talked about. But that 30% is what keeps them alive. So, if you're wondering why they're still open that long too, now you know. So thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more content. Lots of new content on the way. And as always, have a fantastic day. See you guys. You may be wondering why I didn't reach for the beer. This is awful. This is probably one of the worst beers I've ever had. It tastes, at first it wasn't that bad. Then it got a little bit better. But the aftertaste is like vomit. It is awful. This is one of the worst beers I've ever had. Do not recommend this Red Hook limited release. Thank God it's limited. I haven't had the other ones in the variety pack, but I'm already not looking forward to it. Even though I looked up the company before I bought it. Apparently it's good, but that was just awful. But yeah, so like I said, a lot more content coming down the pipeline in the future. I will be getting the Division 2 because it seems like a pretty divisive game, which is pretty funny. It's the Division. So I think it'll be an interesting game to cover. I know Dreamcast guy's been talking about it, and he's been saying that it's a huge improvement over the first game. And he didn't really enjoy the beta very much, if I remember correctly. I didn't really enjoy the beta very much because of many different issues I had that kind of stunted the gameplay. Like the little gameplay I played, it was okay, but it was kind of marred by all the technical issues I was having with it. So we'll see how this game is at the full release. It's going to be one of the first games in a while that I've bought at launch, and it's a Ubisoft game. Normally I don't buy Ubisoft games day one because I know it's like buying a new car. It just doesn't make sense. You're just going to drive it off the lot and lose 20% immediately. That's what a Ubisoft game is. You're going to buy it, drive it off the lot, and then in 2 months, it's going to be a $40 game. I already know it's going to happen, but I feel like it'll be enough interesting stuff to talk about that it'll be worth buying for the channel. Maybe I'll enjoy it. I don't know. Like I said, Dreamcast guy's enjoying it. Maybe I will. Our opinions usually align pretty well. And I've got a lot of other topics and things I want to talk about and some more edited content that I want to do because I have a feeling that might be why the channel's slipping a bit. I think people are kind of getting sick of the barely edited content, which, I mean, I understand, people want quality over quantity, but I enjoy these type of videos where it's just talking because I'm constantly doing things and I just put it on in the background like a podcast, but we already have a podcast on the channel, so I really do want to get more actual edited content here. So hopefully that's something to look forward to. I hope you guys have been enjoying everything you guys have seen so far, and here's to the future.